If you've been affected by the issues raised in this programme and you'd like details of information and support, go to bbc.co.uk/headroom. If you don't have internet access, you can call the Headroom Action Line in confidence on 08000 933 193. Calls are free from a landline, mobile operators will charge, and lines are open 24 hours a day.
Hello, is that the BBC helpline? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, can you help me? Yeah, I was affected by the events in the Doctor Who story, yeah. You see, there's an alien creature in my church, and I really need some help. Hello? Hello? Hello, are you there? Hello?
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to Tin Dog Podcast number 130, where I'll be talking about the Doctor and Vincent.
To me, Van Gogh is the finest painter of them all.
Look there, in the window of the church. Is that a face? Yeah, and not a nice face at all.
We need to talk to Vincent van Gogh.
Wakey, wakey! There's so much more to the world than the average eye is allowed to see.
What monster could have done this?
The eyes, without mercy. If we're not careful, the net result of our pleasant little trip will be the brutal murder of the greatest artist who ever lived. Can you breathe a little quieter, please? No!
I know how it will end.
Doctor!
Amy! No, no, no!
It will not end well.
And can I just say, the Doctor, for me, summed up this whole story with this one statement.
Is this how time normally passes? Really slowly.
Now, I also need to say that it's not, I repeat, not Love and Monsters. It's not even Fear Her. It just didn't quite do it for me. Now, is it the Richard Curtisness of the whole thing? Because every author takes on Doctor Who and twists it to their own way of seeing things and then presents it back, because Curtis is a Who fan. Without Curtis, we might not have Moffat. Remember, it's Curtis who approached Moffat to write Curse of the Fatal Death, and without everyone knowing how much of a fan he was for writing that, things may have been very, very different. No, it was just a bit sickly sweet for my liking. Yes, the art design was fantastic. Yes, it had a heart in its right place, but I felt more manipulated by this programme than I've ever felt listening to Murray Gold's music. I've been trying to work out since watching it why I feel this way. It's a perfectly reasonable story. It feels to me a lot like one of those Virgin novelisations that used to get back in the good old 90s. An emotional take on the Doctor, perfectly acceptable. So perhaps it was the monster itself. Yes, a return to Monster of the Week was perfectly good, despite the fact that the monster really seemed to be a secondary thought for the whole storyline. The subject of which, well, the storyline itself was over in, 35 minutes? From a 48-minute story? There seems to be a dearth of Doctor Who stories that are over, and then there's an extra bit at the end. Almost like when He-Man used to stand at the end of his cartoon and give you his moralisations. Perhaps this is what Moffat will be known for, tagging things on at the end. Yes, it was a joke monster of the week, a monster who is invisible and yet cannot see. The idea of the invisible monster being so cheap has been done before in Doctor Who. And of course, they still had to put lots of other things in so that we did see the monster. So although we may feel as though we saw a cheap monster because of the cheap effects, we know for a fact that they weren't cheap. Yes, I've heard him called Mr. Snuffleupagus. Yes, I think it's the Merker. But to be honest, it just wasn't that great. Half polar bear, half parrot is even mentioned in the programme. Although when I did see the original painting, I thought it looked a lot more like Patient Zero than the art department would like me to. Even Van Gogh's sketch looked a little bit too much like the original monster from the 11th hour for my liking. So is this a Doctor Who story that returns to its original idea of being educational? Yes, it's introduced a lot of people out there to smart work they may not be familiar with. I'm sure BBC Two or Channel 4 will be showing one of the many Vincent van Gogh biopics that are out there on the back of this. I'm sure that people in the library will be popping along and having a quick look at those pictures. So if that was the purpose of this story, then good luck to it. It worked. It's got people talking about art, which for the life of me I don't think anything since Castrovalva has done, and even then that was only in passing. So is this story an attempt to make children look in depth at mental illness, or at least make them aware? Curtis seemed to be along those lines in The Confidential, but again, his sickly sweet approach and the music at the end just didn't quite feel like Doctor Who to me. You see, there's a problem with all reviews. Every single review in the world can be summed up in this statement. It's fine if you like that sort of thing. If you don't like this sort of thing, it's not fine. All reviews are this. Beyond that, it's just personal opinion. And like I said, if you like this sort of thing, then it's great. It's the best story ever. For me, it's not. It's not a crime. There are some niggly, normal Doctor Who things to discuss. Why was Vincent van Gogh clearly having a Scottish accent? Is it because Amy, who is Scottish, thinks he's cool and has therefore put some of her traits via the TARDIS translation onto him? This from a guy who didn't even notice the Seventh Doctor's Scottish accent. God, I'm thick. Is it to introduce the idea of changing small aspects of time? She couldn't change the big picture. She couldn't keep Van Gogh alive. But she could change something small. She could remove the creature from one painting and have her name inserted in another. Small, tiny differences in time. I, for one, was expecting a picture of the TARDIS to appear in the exhibition, something recently discovered. And to that end, I've mocked something up, which you can see on the Tin Dog podcast page. No, if you're looking at it as a story arc, the importantness of Rory, i.e. he gets mentioned and Vincent says that he's seen her cry and she doesn't feel sad, but she is sad, and his ability to see things that aren't there, giving access to the bigger picture, seeing outside of time, that's more important. Mentions of Rory, and the fact that small things can be changed, give you hope that Rory can come back at the end of the season. So it's not something I'll be returning to that much. Something that did surprise me, and I had to rewind in order to find out if I'd missed it, was that Bill Nye, Dr. Black, doesn't appear in the credits. Now I can't imagine that they forgot. So is it that he wasn't happy with his performance? Because in the end, taking your name off something is the only power you truly have. So was he less proud of this than he could have been? Or is there something else going on? Yes, you can come up with your own bizarre theories along those lines, but I'm sure it's something exceptionally practical. In the end, did the Doctor and Amy showing Van Gogh the future contribute in any way to his eventual mental breakdown and self-destruction? Because seeing that level of adoration in possibly a dream, in a man who is already not particularly well-wired, can never have had a good effect. Perhaps in the original timeline, his reason for suicide was different, but depression affects so many of us, in so many ways. I'm sure seeing the inside of the TARDIS, if you're slightly unwell, would really help. And I know I opened with the call to the BBC, but seriously, what kind of thing was going on in their minds, if you've been affected by this storyline? Good Lord. There wasn't one of those at the end of the Daleks. If you've been affected by this terrible design, please phone this number. No, when Tennant regenerated, there wasn't one of those for people to phone. How many fangirls would have given that a ring? And so I'll stop ranting about this and read you a rather nice Whostrology. This one's for the rather enigmatically named Catherine M., born on the 14th of September 1981. Born between the 4th and 5th Doctors. Stories shown on your birthday. Born between seasons 18 and 19, Logopolis and Castrovalva, and on the anniversary of the broadcast of The Mind Robber Part 1 and Time and the Rani Part 2. Falling from a great height is not good for anyone's health, but now that you have a new look, be sure not to fall back into dark dimensions. Change has been a long time in coming, but once it arrives, you should embrace it and gather new friends close to you. They may bicker and moan, and even make your home seem more crowded than it has in a long, long time. But it's all worth it in the long run. Decide if you're going to wear boots or shoes and stick with it. Beware the beauty of volcanoes and try not to be distracted by things you see on television. A spinning bubble will fail to do its job and dash the hopes of millions of people watching. Red heads will confuse you. And before I go, I just want to say that there is some news that came to the light today. Torchwood will return to the BBC. It's made in partnership with an American production company called Stars, and here's Russell to tell you all about it.
Good evening and welcome to E24. Let's start tonight with the drama that puts extraterrestrial threats into a very real world. We're talking about the Doctor Who spin-off Torchwood, which will definitely return for a fourth series. Well, the 10-part sci-fi drama will see Torchwood creator and former Doctor Who head writer Russell T Davies lead a team of writers to create the new shows. Well, we can cross live right now to LA to speak to the man himself, Russell T Davies. Thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News.
That's a pleasure. Hello.
Hello. Now, Torchwood has always been filmed in Wales. It's about to get an injection of international flavour. Tell us all about these storylines based in the US and all around the world.
It's a bit soon to give away too much about the stories, but we will still be shooting in Wales. There'll still be Cardiff action on your screens, but the story now takes the team to America and to some other countries as well. It's still going to be very good, very personal stories. Sometimes you describe this international stuff and it sounds like a 1960s series called The Jet Set or something. It's going to be really good, strong human stories at the heart of this. Never mind the travel, it's still about people, really.
Can you confirm John Barrowman will return as Captain Jack alongside Eve Miles as Gwen?
The Barrowman will be back, bless him, and they're all very excited, and hopefully some more UK signings to come as well, and a new American cast as well, and that's part of the fun of the script as well, which is going to be the culture clash. It's not just going to be, you know, sometimes Americans crop up in dramas for no reason. This is going to be the Americans puzzling at the Welsh not knowing what's going on in America. There's a lot of fun with that, the big head out of the story, so it's going to be lively. It's going to be a good laugh.
Now, the first Torchwood was obviously shown back in 2006 on BBC Three, then it moved over to BBC Two, and then last year we saw it on consecutive nights on BBC One. Clearly it's a popular series. Why do you think it's done so well?
I think the science fiction stuff is very popular, fantasy stuff is popular. I think we were very lucky in casting it well. There's just an appetite for the story, and it's this sort of, it's a funny show in a way. It's sort of designed for the digital age. It's a bit of a weapon. The way it keeps moving channels is that the fact now it's a production with BBC Worldwide Productions. They're actually the makers of this. That's the first drama BBC Worldwide Productions has ever made. So again, this is a new way forward. It's a new way of making drama. It's a new way of funding drama to be in association with Stars. So you know, as a title, it's a sort of generic science fiction title that acts as this digital weapon to go into new channels like BBC One, to go 5 nights a week on BBC One like nothing had ever done before. It's just suits the age, really, to have a flexible, dynamic show that can take new shapes, and this is the newest shape yet, so it's exciting.
It does sound exciting indeed. Now, many will know you, of course, as the man who revived Doctor Who. You made it cool again. Do you miss it?
Oh, I do. Do you know, the greatest responsibility the Doctor Who team has now is getting me a disc every single Saturday out to Los Angeles, which I sit and watch every Saturday night and love. So I don't miss it, actually. I'm a viewer now, and I watch a lot of the episodes, and apart from loving them, my overriding thought is, oh, what's hard work. So I'm really, part of me is very glad not to be sweating over that TARDIS again, and truly, Matt Smith and Karen Gillan are just, what a glorious new age. It's the show that'll never die.
Would you change anything now that you're watching as a fan?
How dare you suggest such a thing? I wouldn't. The only thing I'd change is I'd make 20 episodes a year. I'm sure they'd be glad to hear that. But more Doctor Who, that's what we need.
Well, I'm glad that you are enjoying yourself as a fan, and we do miss you, and we're loving the new series. Thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News, and good luck with Torchwood.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And so with that, I'll fade away and leave you with the trailer for next time.
Hello? I need your help. There's been an accident.
What is he doing up there? You put the advert up yet?
Yeah, did it today. Paper shop window.
Find me a man.
Yeah, otherwise you have to settle for me.
You have to settle for me first.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Well, that's good, because I'm your new lodger.
And so with that, I'll fade away and speak to you all next time when we talk about the Flatshare episode by Gareth Roberts. Whatever it's going to be called. Be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.